You can't. Yeah, it's made of food. It's not the same that you can eat it, Anders.
It looked really nice.
Yeah, it's so.
Doesn't it look attractive? It looks like you can eat it.
Yeah, it's everything here. It's all new types of products made out of food waste that we are trying to create new products with, together with a lot of people in Europe. But you can't eat it. I mean, it's.
Welcome to Reconstructing the World. My name is Anders Morgenthaler. Okay.
All right.
We're going. We're back. I'm wearing shorts. Exposing my nice legs. Have nothing to do with the program in general, Anders. But I just wanted to point it out since I think this is very semi-sexy. But this is sexy. Look at this. This is not an architect. This is a film star. Okay, so Anders, you are the most sustainable architect in the world. We know that. Everybody knows that. But the thing is, normally when we talk, it's always about
me.
Yeah, I know. But it's also always about that you get an assignment.
Yeah.
And then you said, okay, make this house sustainable. But the main problem very often is that you then need to make something sustainable on top of normal tender, a normal tender, whatever.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about a very special project that you made, where the municipality actually...
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you've been practicing.
I fucking nailed it. Municipality. I fucking nailed it. The municipality. I fucking can't.
Municipality
needs to wake up. Yeah, but the thing is, you need to tell about this project. It's called the Swan. But the thing is, there's something fantastic about this, and it actually starts way before anything becomes a building, right?
So, normally when we start a project, we either do a competition or we have a client that specific calls us and are interested in doing a project together with us.
Yeah.
In this project, we were actually pitching ourselves to the municipality because we really wanted to show a project where a municipality tried to do a circular project. And the reason for that is that one of the largest, in many countries, the largest companies are actually the municipalities. And they are the biggest landowners and they have the most buildings, which means that they also have the most buildings that is going to be demolished or transformed. So we contacted Gladsaxe Kommune and had many meetings actually with their chief technical CEO of the municipality. And they really wanted to do a circular project as well.
Okay.
And then...
So did you know anybody at Gladsaxe? Actually, very quickly, Gladsaxe means happy scissor. I just want to, say that's what it's directly translated to. But did you know Gladsaxe Kommune? Did you just call them?
I actually can't, it's some years ago, I can't remember. I think we called them because we knew the guy were talking a lot about sustainability.
Right.
And they are a very progressive municipality. They were talking about sustainability development goals, the 17 SDGs from the UN. They wanted to do something. So we thought, good idea to call them. Then they said, okay, but how are we going to do this? And they first found another site where we were starting to design a kindergarten, and that blew off because it wasn't possible to build there. And then they said we have to find a new site. So we went out there together with their project leader.
Just went out to see?
To see the different sites.
Okay, what kind of buildings do you own?
And where they needed a kindergarten.
Okay.
Because they knew they wanted to do a kindergarten, but they didn't know where it would make sense to do a circular building. And there, for the first time, we went out to Gladsaxe's school. And
this is a very horrible place.
And the reason, here and there and there, and the reason why it looks like that, which is quite crazy, everyone, not maybe everyone, but a lot of families and people in Gladsaxe Kommune were pissed off because this school, which is actually quite beautiful, from 1937, which is a historical building,
And
not historical.
this is
But it was historical for these people.
Yeah.
And because it had been empty for so long, and they didn't know what to do with it, they had leased it out to the police technical kind of a tactics squad that had thrown hand grenades inside the building. So when we came in to evaluate if we could use the building, there was hand grenade explosions and windows, and so it was really damaged. So we went back and then we talked with the municipality about how we could actually make a circular building. And our idea at that point was, we have to reuse the building. And the first sketch was actually to reuse this building.
the whole building.
The most of the building, and demolish this part of the building and use these materials as part of the transformation, if we could. We went in and we started to sketch on it. But because it would be a kindergarten also for disabled and kids that had different types of challenges, this building were pretty complex to solve with different heights and so on. And it ended up being too big for the kindergarten that we needed to do.
Okay.
The interesting part here is that today we would never, ever, ever have demolished this. We would have recycled it directly because the most sustainable thing is a building that we don't build. But at this point, you have a building with hand grenade explosions inside, a building that is a bit too big for the purpose. So we decided to kind of not basically explode, take all the materials apart and create a material
bank. A
bank of material. What do you call it? A depot of materials.
Like here
on the football side. Okay. So if we find the drawing of the area,
there's an area here.
Here, the area photo. Yeah, you're good. You're super quick.
I know.
So out here, that's where the white school, this one, the gray school was here.
Okay, yeah.
So we talked about that potential with the client. We didn't do anything.
Okay.
Then they came back and said, okay, we really want to do that. We want to be the first municipality in Denmark to actually make a circular building. We don't have more money than a normal kindergarten budget,
of course,
but we want to do it anyways. So they said, how do we do that? And the first thing we needed to do was do a material mapping. So go in to these buildings, look at all the materials, do documentation on quality, chemistry, is a PCB, lead, whatever. What are you pointing at?
Is that the material mapping?
No, it's a A4 paper with some images on.
Yeah, but it looks like a mapping.
No, it's not a mapping.
There's a watch.
Yeah. It's not a mapping because the mapping is a very complex thing. And where you're going through all the materials, quantities, you're testing them for different types of chemistry, you're finding their origins and finding out what you can do with it.
Okay.
So part of this was mapping all the materials and finding out how we could upcycle them or direct reuse the materials, find out how we could disassemble it and describe how to disassemble it and so on. All this leads to a tender, and this is where it becomes different. So we have two types of projects, as you see here. One is the architect project, and one is the demolition project. And the demolition...
And what about there? You have an overlap.
That's because when you do this, you can design with the materials that you are dismantling.
Okay.
And the fact is that the nedrivnings or demolish project is not demolishing. No. It's creating materials. So the material mapping, which is what you're asking for, what is that? It's a mapping, but it's also material performance. Then it's the demand and the wish for the client is, can we do a Swan branded? It's called. It's a
certification.
Certification for sustainability on all kinds of other materials and not buildings.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that they try to do, together with us and the team, recycling in this Swan branding. We can come back to that. Then there's the tender, which is what we're going to talk about. CO2 reductions and waste saving. The actual demolishing and describing that. Then there's the design and an idea catalog.
Okay.
And the idea catalog is kind of what, not this, but where we describe what can these waste streams become. So here we have the resource mapping. So this is what you wanted to point at.
It reminds me of scientific papers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It reminds me of of somebody doing science and doing you know.
But it is a science.
Yeah. So
Almost.
it's like this is what today's program is about. Is that all this is actually extremely important to try to learn and to be skilled at.
Yeah.
Before you can then move on to build actual sustainable buildings, right?
Exactly.
This is
exactly. Honest. First time in many chapters, I agree totally with you.
Okay.
So this is, as you see, this is just one part of the building. So this is, 150 pages of analytic approach describing all these things. The section here of insulation, facade, membrane, montage system, blah, blah, blah. All of this material things. And here you see, over here you actually see, which is super interesting, how many there are of each bracket and nails.
Oh, it's boring. Yes. And boring but necessary.
So that's
like
why,
creating
that's
your second child. I fucked it up, I know. First child, super fun to create. Second child, lots of work.
So the boring things actually leads to some fun things.
Yeah.
And that's the architectural project. And you are asking about why they were overlapping. And that is specifically, or very precisely, because when you know how much you have of each material, you can start to design with it. And that's where we say form follows availability. And that's, of course, that we are starting to design with what we have.
So now you've been mapping all the material.
Yeah.
And then you're going to write the tender, right?
Then you have, exactly, because what happens then? Normally, really easy, you have this old building here, and you can see how beautiful they actually used to be. Then this was demolished, and then only this was back. But what happens is, you write a tender, now I'm really making it simple.
The municipality is writing a tender, normally.
Yes, please demolish everything, tear it down, and just leave a new building site, a plain field you can build on. And that costs X million crowns, and they just remove everything.
So the tender is then written so that the demolisher is who is bidding on this tender, you guys says, you need to come with a plan for taking this building apart so we can use all materials to be built again, right?
Yes, great. But just the last quote on that, because it's not that simple. So what you need to do in this tender, which it was the first time ever to do a circular tender.
Yeah.
So we had to describe how and why and with what kind of value chain, like how would you actually demolish a building so the materials becomes building material.
Yeah.
And that's what a demolisher haven't done before. So they went from being demolisher to being material supplier.
Great.
And that's the whole point. So
and how did they take that? How, because were people happy about you or do?
Well, I think most demolishers, they already now understand that their biggest potential is to become these material sheiks, right? They actually have access to all the resources you could imagine, but they just used to put them in the ground or incinerate them. And now they actually have access to new material if they understand how it becomes a building material in this case.
Did you say material sheiks?
Yeah.
Great. Just wanted to make sure.
Right? So from demolisher to material chic, someone who is rich on resources, not fossil ones. Is that also bad to say sheiks?
Let's continue.
On a slippery slope here?
Always.
Okay, so
You can't concentrate now because you're thinking cancel inside.
No. I'm thinking, how do we then convert it to a design?
Yeah.
Because probably you want to know that as well, right?
Yeah.
So how do you come back to the design? So we're doing a lot of different types of sketch proposals and designs and so on. But then we came up with this idea. I actually came up with this idea that what if we took one building, one material, and then placed them, as I said, form follows availability, that the amount of materials equals the type of building we can do, and we then place them in a circle here and made an entrance where you could come into the courtyard and create this quite beautiful courtyard where each building were representing a material.
Like here,
and you can and now you have to see an animal. What type of animal do you see here when you look at it? If you have the sun setting here, you have water here. What animal do you see?
I guess you want me to say I'm looking at a swan, but it's not what I see. I see a slightly weirdo monkey. You know, this is like a monkey who has half of the head shot off in an accident, and then but they continue living with the other monkeys.
It found a shotgun and then it looked into it like that.
No, it's not a suicide story. It's like it went around, monkey eating, and then it went straight through the head. And then the other monkeys, oh shit, like put banana on it, and then it survived, but it becomes kind of a weird monkey. But you see a swan, great.
Okay. All right. So you see a swan, that's great. And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's a circular building.
That's exactly
where
what it is.
Every material represents what we have been able to recycle in the building.
So, just to understand, each building is defined by the amount of
as close as we could get to it.
Yeah, but it's defined as a okay. So now
you see it. I'm sorry. It's
no.
But if you look at this, almost right.
Yeah.
So this is our material storage. These images. This is where the framework, the roof structure is kind of put on top of each other, pinned up. And here, when you see it from the top, this is actually our depot where you have the roof tiles here. You have some different outdoor materials. You have all the steel sheets here and so on. So basically, and you can actually see here is also the
observatory.
Thank you. Observatory that actually came into the project later on. We're going to see that. It's right there. And in that sense, the amount followed approximately what we used in the building. But we had actually also a surplus of materials. We really, really wanted to have recycled the windows also. But I can come back to why that was super difficult. But here the tender goes from, I'm sorry, Anders. The tender and our demolisher is actually part of doing this.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's a new thing.
No, but it's fantastic, and it's also the future of demolishing.
Yeah.
So, but just to understand, instead of taking all the materials and then mixing them and matching, inside each other, you chose to show
one at a time.
Aesthetically.
Yes.
Look, here's one type of material, like mainly, and here's one other type of material, right?
Yes.
And I think that's a brilliant idea. Because later in the next episode, we're going to go out to Swan and see how that translates into an aesthetic that actually, without people knowing it, has a education within the aesthetic, which is great.
And it's also to show that each material can become both facade and roof.
Yeah.
It can be the material that goes around the windows and so on. So it's also to show that it's a component that has more than one solution to it.
Yeah.
And of course, not all materials could become roof and so on. But that was kind of what we tried to do and get it as close as possible.
But this project is actually how new buildings should be built in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
We take material, we convert it to a new building. So instead of just renovating a building, which may not be possible because the building isn't functional, you actually say, okay, so if you can't renovate, then the next thing is we demolish as with the purpose of material use, and then we build a new building mainly out of this.
Yes.
And now I want to know the amount of the percentage. How many, if you know the rough numbers, the percentage converted of the original site to the new site is what? Like 90% or 80 or?
I think I would rather say, because that's difficult to say.
Yeah, sure.
One of the super challenging things here was that the site, the ground was very soft.
Yeah.
And when you take a building out where you had a basement and a foundation, which is something we learned in this project, then you create a super porous new building site. And when you have that, you need to pour in a lot of concrete to make a new base, which is the most unsustainable thing you can actually do. And at this point, when we did this project 5 years ago and started that, we never thought about that removing a building would create a challenging new site to build on.
Okay.
So here we crushed a lot of the concrete and recasted it into the ground.
Okay.
But still, even though we did that, it was not very sustainable in any ways to do that at all.
What would you have done now?
We, as I said to begin with, we would have kept the building. We would have went way further.
Okay.
Even if it was too many square meters, you would have cut the building, just not use the roof. Or you would, every single material you keep where they are and reuse it is so much more CO2 reduction than you can ever do through an upcycle or recycle process. So that's number 1, 2, and 3, basically. No, but your question on the amount on the facades, I mean, I think it's close to between 80 and 90% of the facade materials that are recycled materials. The building's load-bearing structure is wood. So that's new wood that we used because in our minds, wood is a way more sustainable material than steel or concrete or any other light concrete material. And the insulation and so on are new material here.
Yeah.
So I think we've gone really far on recycling as much as possible, but compared to a way larger school here and to this 1,200 square meters, there's of course a lot of material we had to discard.
Yeah, to discard or send further down in the system.
Yeah,
so this is a learning process that this is the most sustainable 5 years ago that you could be at that point. But you wanted, if you wanted, and that today also, you will build on top of that, right?
Of course, but also done within a municipality's budget, which is really, really interesting. I mean, this is a project, it's a kindergarten for public money. And it went, I think, 10 or 15% over budget. It's not very much. When you ask the municipality, it's very, very little. And it has nothing to do with the upcycling process. It's things like as I said, it was a more complex site to build on and other things that wood were more expensive or something like that. It's not the process in itself.
It's a fluctuation within the reasonable.
Because it went from the municipality having to buy materials and all of a sudden they had the materials for the facades and also the bricks for the interiors that we're going to see when we get there. You can see it here. All the interior, this looks like an old wall, right?
Oh, but don't, because we're going out there. But I have one last question.
Okay.
Did the demolisher think you're an asshole because you came up with this tender with the municipality?
No, they loved it. They love us. They love you too, and they love the municipality. They love the engineers from NIRAS. They love the kids. Are they allowed?
Yeah.
They like the kids. They love the pedagogues, the teachers.
Great.
They love
Keep
them.
going.
And they actually love to be out there. They love the sun and the air and the wind. And sometimes they also love each other. They love their work.
Great. And I love this. See you next time on Reconstructing the World at the Weird Monkey site, the Weird Monkey Kindergarten, also known as the Swan. I can't wait.
The Monkey Garden.
It's going to be